Bendiciones, everybody. Bendiciones, family. Alafia. See it. So I decided to make this a teachable moment. You know, as a practitioner, I decided to make this Rashad Jamal situation the perfect teachable moment for everybody. There's a lot of misinformation, you know, that he puts out, especially about, you know, Orisha tradition, about the culture in general of African traditional religions. And so I thought that as somebody that grew up in this, somebody that's connected deeply into these priesthoods, I would, you know, shed light for everybody, you know. And so in saying that, you know, a lot of people, you know, they may wonder, why would you want to come on here and talk about this, about the information? Because the same way that you motherfuckers that have a problem with me saying things about Rashad Jamal, that in the end, you know, we seen what happened. It's the same way that I have a problem with people speaking on my grandmother's tradition. Imagine that. Imagine that. See, what people continue to glance over, because I know a lot of people in this community, they don't do research. This community, for some reason, they're allergic to researching. What a lot of people continue to glance over is the fact that I come from a long lineage of this tradition, right? So for those who don't know, let's start it and bring you up to speed so you have an understanding of the point of view that I'm coming from, right? So my mother's mother, which my mother's side is from Puerto Rico, my father's side is Black American. They're from Central Georgia. My grandfather was born in Americas. My grandmother was born in Twin Cities. Okay. Now, my mother's side, they're from Puerto Rico. And they're from a coastal city called Aguadilla. Now, my mother's mother, she was a practitioner of what they call Puerto Rican voodoo, which is more known today as Sanse, you know, which back then they would call Espiritismo. And, you know, through the years, Espiritismo went through changes that now there's still practitioners that practice Espiritismo as it was, but also there's people that practice it as Sanse, like myself, right? You know, Abuela was in the tradition her whole life. Both of her parents were practitioners. You know what that means? That means that that line went unbroken all the way back into Africa and beyond. Okay? Now, my mother's father, his mother was a practitioner of Lukumi, or what some people call Santaria, which is Orisha tradition. So my grandmother Uka, she was a priestess of Lukumi. Ashe. Now, I was raised around the culture since a child, okay? And Abuela taught me many things, many secrets, many things. And so when you're looking at experience, you cannot count just how old I am. You got to count how old Abuela is. How old were her parents, their parents, their parents, and their parents, and so on and so forth. So just through my mother's mother, that is hundreds of years of the tradition that was passed into me, knowledge-wise, wisdom-wise, from Abuela. So when you guys come and you hear these different perspectives of the culture that you cannot find on YouTube and that you cannot find on Google, that's why. That's the difference. You understand? And the same thing with Grandma Uka, right? So it's very different than somebody that came into this a year ago, 6 months ago, that just started learning about Orishas. It's very different than somebody that came into this 5 years ago, but they were the first one in their generation. You see? It's very different. This is a thing with me that it went unbroken until my mother's generation. My mother's generation, who had the mixing in America, they the ones who didn't pick the practice up. And I did. And I still had abuela. Ashe. So with that being said, I thought that I would come on here and correct some of the things that Rashad Jamal was saying about Orishas, because quite frankly, a lot of it is bogus and dangerous, what he's telling y'all about Orishas. Yeah. And for anybody that's listening, that's in the culture, like really in the culture, if I miss something, you know, you can pick it up in the comments, Ashe. Because for real, we have to be custodians of the culture. We cannot let people come in and do this, because our culture would die like that. And this is what people don't understand. And that's how I can be so staunch on not wavering with that. Fuck that. You're not gonna come on here and just do that, and people is listening to that shit. So I got a video from Rashad Jamal that I thought that I would break down. So if you guys want to learn about Orishas, if you guys want to learn a thing or two about the practice, this is the perfect time, because you're about to hear some things from an official practitioner of Puerto Rican Sanse and a devotee of Ifa as a child of Eshu. So without further ado, let me hit my drink first. Family. Qué bueno, qué rico. So let's get it. So here we go. It's your boy.
So this is why when they speak of the Orisha, they always gonna give credit to the Yoruba tribe, which is, I get why they do that.
First of all, I don't know no Yoruba. I know Yoruba. Now pay attention to pronunciations, because it's very important. It shows the difference between novices and people that's been experienced into this. If you don't have experience, you shouldn't be teaching. That's just that. If you don't have experience in this, stick to talking about aliens and cosmos shit. But Yoruba is the word. If you from the Caribbean, if you're from like a Latin island, they will say Yoruba, because it's their accent, is how they say it, Yoruba. But the correct term is Yoruba. People from that area will call themselves Yoruba.
Right. But they will. They're going to tell you the Yoruba tribe, they're going to credit the Orishas and their story with the Yoruba tribe. But in actuality, this is our stories regardless. All right. The Orishas been around for a long time. They've been around since we brought life onto this planet, onto this plane, onto this planet. So as we brought intelligent life here, they've been around. The Orishas. But they serve as spiritual guides. They're here to help protect you. They're here to be, their energy is to be used to fight against our oppressors.
No, that's not what that's for. The Orishas are here to guide you on fulfilling your destiny. They're not here just to do fighting stuff. That was something that occurred once in a while. In the Caribbean, we had to use Orisha to defend ourselves from colonizers, but the original intent, it was not what he's telling you. That's not what that's for. That's not to be fighting. Orisha are to help you become in alignment with your destiny that your Ori, your head, chose before you came to earth. And so what your Orisha is here to do, because Everybody have a Orisha that rules their Ori, that rules their head. And, you know, in Isheshe tradition, which is what you find in Nigeria, um, you also have an Orisha, you know, that rules your feet or that carries your feet, what they say. You can consider this almost like your mother and your father, right? So in my case, Eshu rules my head, Oshun rules my feet. Okay, so that's that. And if you guys want to learn deeper into Ori and all that, y'all need to be subscribed to my channel and following the teachings of these indigenous practices, because that's where you're going to hear stuff like that. But that is very important. Ori is crucial, and your Orishas are here to keep you in alignment with that destiny, with that path.
Because you can call the Orishas and they help you anytime. But each Orisha has their own story. Every Orisha have their own story. Every Orisha have their own things they like and they don't like. Every Orisha have their own colors, their own crystals, their own offerings they take.
No, crystals don't belong in the Orisha tradition, brother. That's something totally different. Okay, so if you talk to people that's really into practice, adding crystals and stuff, that's a newer thing. That's not a thing. We have sacred stones that we may use, which I cannot get into, to consecrate certain Orishas so that that energy is in that vessel that you're using. But to say a crystal that's new age stuff that people are adding into that, and you have to be careful with things like that.
Each and every Orisha has their own personality. Because they just as real as me and you. This is why you have to know how to go to them. You have to know how to deal with them. You have to be respectful. You have to have the purest intent, right?
No, you don't. Not every Orisha is like that. There's certain Orishas that people can go to for chaos. You know what I'm saying? There are certain aspects of certain Orishas. See, because every Orisha has many paths, and certain aspects of certain Orisha can get real dark, you know, and people can misuse it. And depending on their specific situation, you know, they could get away with it. Generally, practitioners will tell you that you should use, you know, the Orishas to continue to stay in alignment with your destiny and with your Ori, and not to kind of deviate from that. But people do, and there's a way to do those things, which I'm not going to get into that either, because, you know, then people would just be wilding out doing whatever they want.
Now, it's many different Orishas. All right. Well, let's talk about the top 9. We're gonna start with Olodumare.
Olodumare is not an Orisha, family. Olodumare is not an Orisha. I got a video on Olodumare. Olodumare is not an Orisha. Olodumare is the supreme. Olodumare is the all. Olodumare is that force that lives in all of us. That is Olodumare. Olodumare is not an Orisha. And anybody who's in the practice would never fix their mouth to say that Olodumare is an Orisha. Olodumare is who sent the Orishas. Okay? So just pay attention to the verbiage. Pay attention to how he's using these words, because that's all important.
Olodumare is the God, the overseer, or the God that sent the Orishas down to be the medium between the physical planes and the spiritual planes in this world called of Tiamat, or planet Kai, or Atlantis. We're on Atlantis.
None of that had nothing to do with Orisha tradition, what he just said. They don't get into all of that. Planet Kai, TNY, all Atlantis. He added in his own shit.
Olodumare, once again, is the one that sent the Orishas down here to serve to be a physical, a spiritual medium for all up and coming gods and all up and coming souls that was living in this reality down. I mean, in this physical embodiment to keep them connected to source. All right. Ifa is, you might have heard of Ifa. Ifa is the study of what we're talking about now, you know, the Orishas and
Ifa is much more than that. And that's something that I'll cover on another video. But just listen to what he tell y'all. And see, y'all used to me coming on here clowning and shit, but like I said, this is my real tradition. And you got people that's coming on here and they just using this as buzzword to stay relevant. Because Kemet, how much more can people talk about Kemet and things like that? So they gotta find ways to stay fresh, and this is what they're going to do: come appropriate the culture.
Stories and voodoo magic, and how to call them in. That's all a part of Ifa.
What? No. Whoa. Wildin'.
Ifa is, you might have heard of Ifa. Ifa is the study of what we're talking about now, you know, the Orishas and their stories and voodoo magic, and how to call them in.
No, Ifa had nothing to do with hoodoo. Nothing at all to do with. Ifa is Ifa. Hoodoo is hoodoo. Hoodoo is something that developed here. Ifa is not hoodoo. Okay? Even in voodoo, voodoo is its own tradition. And there's different sectors of voodoo. You got New Orleans voodoo, you got Haitian voodoo, you got Puerto Rican voodoo, you got Dominican voodoo, 21 Divisiones. Okay? Voodoo is its own thing. Now, in voodoo, you will find remnants of Yoruba culture there. And you will see remnants of Yoruba culture, similarities between certain deities, but those deities are not exact to what you find in Ifa. Okay, these deities that you find in voodoo went through transformations. They had aspects that were discovered that were very different than what you find in Yoruba land. Okay, you know, everybody from Legba to Oguferai, you know, they have connections to Yoruba land, but they're also different than the representations that you find in Benin and that you find in modern day Nigeria. All right, very different, you know, but that's just a thing. Don't ever construe those things. Hoodoo is hoodoo, Ifa is Ifa, voodoo is voodoo. Okay, and even with hoodoo, you're going to find remnants of things that come from Congo. You know, when you get into voodoo, you're going to find many different tribes in voodoo that added their 1-2s. You're going to find Fan, Ewe culture. You're going to find, you know, different Congo, Bantu aspects that's added. You're going to find Yoruba. You're going to find Igbo. You're going to find a lot of different Wolof, a lot of different groups that came into the Caribbean. You will find it in voodoo, but voodoo is not Ifa. Ashe.
That's all a part of Ifa.
No.
Divination, work, tarot reading. That's a part of Ifa.
Big no. Tarot reading, nothing to do with Ifa at all. That's a big one. Don't put them two ever together. Now we going real far. Now we going all the way far. To say that tarot is Ifa is a grave mistake and is disrespectful. Do not ever put them two together. Tarot is not. Hold on. Tarot is not Ifa. Tarot is not Ifa. Tarot is not Ifa. Rewind that part back and then play me saying tarot is not Ifa again, motherfucker. That is so disrespectful. That is very disrespectful. Tarot is not Ifa. We have our own divination systems within Orisha tradition. Okay, somebody can throw Opuele for you. Somebody can throw Obi. Somebody can throw the De Lagoon. We got different ways to do divination. Okay, which we use different things. So, you know, somebody that's in Lukumi, they might throw Obi with coconut. Somebody would do it differently in Nigeria because they have different. So in Nigeria, they're going to use, you know, a different thing to throw Obi. Understand? But that was wild, out of pocket, out of control. I gotta hear him say that was crazy. That was crazy. And the people that don't understand, you don't understand why I'm emphasizing that. But those in the culture know why I'm emphasizing the fact that tarot is not Ifa. They know why. But if you a newbie, you won't understand that. And that's why you got to be tuning in and learning the real stuff, because you will understand why it's so disrespectful.
About now, you know, the Orishas and their stories and hoodoo magic and how to call them in. That's all a part of Ifa. Divination work, tarot read, and that's a part of Ifa.
No.
So Ifa deals with any form of spiritual work.
No. Ifa does not deal with any form of spiritual work. No.
If somebody was to ask me, am I Ifa? Yes, I would be considered Ifa because that's what I was sent here to do.
No. What makes you Ifa? Did you get your hand of Ifa? Have you received any of the Orishas from a Baba, from a Santero? These are things that then now you can say, okay, you practicing Ifa. But if any of this is not there, you cannot just say, oh, you're Ifa. That's not how that works. These are traditions that go through rites of passage, that things happen in a certain way. It's not just a free-for-all, anybody just walk in and out of Ifa. That's not how we do that. So when he's saying that, that is very wrong. What makes you Ifa? Not because you spiritual, because if that's the case, you so pro-black, it's white girls, they're spiritual. Are they Ifa? It's people doing Wicca. Are they Ifa? It's Hindus that's practicing Hinduism. Are they Ifa? No. They are Hindu. It's very different. And that's important to understand. Because what works for Ganesh doesn't work for Eshu.
This spiritual. If somebody was to ask me, am I Ifa? Yes, I would be considered Ifa because that's what I was sent here to do. This spiritual work.
What spiritual work do he do? Has Rashad Jamal ever given anybody any type of reading, any type of divination? What spiritual work do he do? Because right now I get on the phone with Santeros, Paleros, Babalawos, whatever, and they doing the work. Right now, I'm booked up with clients all the time, doing work, moving spirits for people, doing readings for people. That's spiritual work. Going on the internet and talk shit, that's not spiritual work.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about these 9 Orishas, not excluding Olodumare. All right, but I just told you who he was. Olodumare is the Orisha. I mean, he's not Orisha. Olodumare is...
You see what I'm talking about? For those motherfuckers that want to come on here talk shit to the Brujo, you see what I'm talking about? Didn't I tell you Olodumare was not an Orisha? You see how he tried to correct himself now? Because he realized he's just talking shit. Okay? And that's how that can slip out like that. Somebody that's in the practice, never that come out your mouth. Because we are knowing this. We got experience in the practice. Long time, my children.
That brought the Orishas down here. Next will be Eshu. Eshu is the divine messenger, also known as a Legba or Papa Legba.
No. Papa Legba, as he's talking about in Voodoo, is Papa Legba. Okay? You find that in the Caribbean, Papa Legba. That's a different aspects. This is why I say you got to be careful when you're confusing this stuff, because this shit is dangerous. All right? When you get into paths of Eshu, you can get into very dangerous paths. And you have to know what you're dealing with. because Eshu have so many different paths. It's paths of Eshu that Babalawus will not even touch that path. They just leave it alone. Because that's how real it gets when we're talking about Eshu.
He is the gatekeeper. He is also a trickster, can be a trickster, because he likes to test you to make sure that you are loyal to what you are saying to him. Very powerful. Also,
listen. And this is why I said, for those that's real practitioners listening, the things that I missed, talk that shit in the comments, because why? It's so much misinformation that I cannot keep stopping the video to correct this guy. The video won't end. If I have to correct him every time, the video will not end. So that's why I just gotta pick and choose. So some of the stuff that he's saying that's misinformation, I just gotta let it rock.
he helps transport spirits through the underworld, if you want to call it that, or the dead through the spiritual world. All right, he create graves for the living, meaning that when they get close to your time, Eshu is the one that starts to prepare, you know, that opening for you to enter between, to leave the physical realm and walk into the spiritual realm. He's the gatekeeper. He's also the first one you will go to before practicing any ritual or spell work, Eshu. You can do spell work and rituals without calling in the Orishas, but they're not going to be as powerful as if you was to call them in and ask them to work with you. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go too deep into, Eshu, because I'm going to make a lecture about each and every single Orisha on his own. I just want you to meet these Orishas.
Please don't, brother. Leave that to the people that's really in the coaching, because this is not it. That thing behind you, talk about that. Galaxies and shit. That's what you good at.
All right. Ogun will be next because he clears the path for you. All right. I don't want to get too many details about Ogun, but he clears the path for you. He's a warrior Orisha. Same as Eshu, they are warrior Orishas. All right. If somebody's bothering you, you would go to warrior Orishas to protect you. If somebody's trying to harm you or anything, you would go to them. You would call them in. Ochosi is also a warrior Orisha. He's the brother of Ogun and Eshu. Very, very powerful energies. Masculine, strong energy.
Now, just a little side note, right? Because he's putting them like he's doing it in a certain order. Next up, in reality, if he really wanted to be on it, there's a way that people call or address, like, let's say if you want to get a reading to find out who rules your head, who rules your Ori, because that is the only way to know who rules your Ori. Not coming in a dream, not I feel a connection to such and such. The hardest thing to see is that what sits on top of your head. Okay, that's what we say in the practice. And so when you go to get a reading to find out who is sitting on top of your head, what Orisha is, the ruler of your Ori, the way that they ask Orumila, they go down the list in a certain order. If it's a male that they're reading for, they're going to go down the list of those divine fathers. And so I'm not gonna put the whole list in an order, but just an example is like they would start with Obatala, then they will go to Ogun, then they will go to Shango, and then they will continue going down the line of those those Orisha that are basically the seniors, they call them the senior fathers,
that are very protective. He's a hunter. Like I said, I'll go into more detail about them in their own individual videos. But the next one will be Obatala, who is also, could be looked at as like Olodumare, or father of the Orishas sometimes. Like they say, he's the father, or could be considered the father of the Orishas. Now you got different stories that will tell you he's not the father. Some will tell you he's the father. I'm just letting you know from a spiritual aspect, he could be considered, he could almost be on the same, you know, level as Olodumare, even though he is not. All right. The next one is Orula or Oromilia.
Okay, who is Orumilia? Orumila. That pronunciation is very important. And I'm going to get into why that pronunciation is important a little further down. But Orumila is how you say it. I don't know what language he might be getting his knowledge confused with Greek, because when you add the umilia, now you're getting into European languages. Okay, you're saying Orumilia. Who is Orumilia? Orumila, and you put an emphasis on his name. It's a reason for that. And people that are experienced in the practice understand why. This is what I'm talking about, family. Orumilia. Are we reading a Greek thesis?
He could be considered, he could almost be on the same, you know, level as Olodumare, even though he is not. All right. The next one is Orula or Oromilia. All right. Another very powerful Orisha deals with wisdom and divination work. Another Orisha
you have to respect Orumila. Orumila is the divine prophet of all prophets. And Orumila is to get into Orumila, he deserves his own video. I'm not going to get into Orumila right now.
That was that we had named it Shango. Shango, very, very, very powerful Orisha. He's actually rumored to be the most powerful of the Orishas. Brother of Ogun, all right. God of lightning, God of thunder. All right. These are very powerful energies when you're dealing with these Orishas. Because their energy is their energy. It's not a joke. I mean, it's to be called upon and used upon.
Notice his body language, how he talking. He don't know what the fuck he talking about. That's what I'll be telling y'all folk, man. Then you're going to come cuss the one that I grew up in the practice because I'm correcting it. Y'all ain't shit for that. Because if somebody come right now and start telling you about things, how you grew up in a culture, you're going to be pissed. You're going to be a motherfucker. That's not like that. If you grew up breeding pit bulls and somebody come tell you some nonsense about pit bulls, you're going to be like, yo, get the fuck out of here. What is you talking about? That's not true. Are you crazy? And then when people come be like, you don't know what you're talking about with that. And some person come and breeding these fucked up looking bullies. The bullies is coming out looking like they got made in the lab, like mutants. You're going to be like, wow, that's crazy. Why you sitting here with premium bucks? Just think about that. And that's why, family, I'll be hard on it, man. I'll be hard on it because I grew up in this shit.
Need it not to be abused. These are spiritual deities, protectors. They can give you, even if you ask them for knowledge, they'll give it to you. Ask them a question about something, they'll give you an answer. So the next one will be Oya. Mama Oya.
Oya. Oya. Oya. Now Oya. Oya. It's the reason why I'm saying this, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. Goddess of lightning. Very, very powerful. Also the goddess of the wind. Wind is one of her more powerful elements. Okay. You got Osun. Deals a lot with beauty. Kind of think about Aphrodite.
Osun. Oshun. Oshun. If you in Latin America, Ochun. Osun is a whole different deity. Yeah, I'm not going to get into Osun, but Oshun, Ochun, that you have the pronunciation. It's important.
Mythology. Stuff also is a little more, probably a little more powerful because she has soothing energy, very powerful energy, definitely great at healing and love and family. That's the energies you want to call in. You want to call in those soul energy. You got Yimiye.
All right. Now he's going to Yimiye. He's trying to say Yemoja. This is crazy. To mispronounce so many Orishas is disrespectful. Yimiye. What is a Yim? Where did you come from, Cotton Joe? I've been married. You know, what is a Yimiye? This is what I'm talking about. Now I gotta go in for a second. Okay. Now I gotta go in for a second. Hold up. What is a Yimiye? Ladies, now he playing with you divine mothers. Those that's really about this life. Come on now. Y'all can't be celebrity worship, idol worship shit. What the fuck is a Yimiye? In Nigeria, Yemoja. In the Caribbean, Yemaya. And why am I being such a stickler for the pronunciation? Let's go through the science. When you're in school, if your name is Aaron and the teacher says, "Hey, Aaron," you're going to be looking around like, who the fuck is you talking to? Hey, Aaron? Who's Aaron? Bitch, my name is Aaron. Who is Aaron? Right? If you're walking down the street and somebody mispronounces your name, you're not going to turn around and look and say who's calling you, right? You're going to just keep walking. I don't know who they're talking to. And it's the same thing with these spirits. When you mispronouncing name of spirits like that, the spirit's like, what the fuck is this? Who are you talking to? Oh, well. Because how are you going to get their attention? You know how deep this is with spirits? That the accent that you have, the spirit can even know where that child comes from. Yeah. Yemoja knows that if Yemaya is called, oh, that's my child that comes from Cuba. Oh, that's my child that comes from Puerto Rico. Yemaya. If somebody says Chango, oh, that's my son that's in the Caribbean. They know by the pronunciation. Nobody say Yimiye. What is that? Yimiye. That's disrespectful. Because if right now somebody walk up and they're trying to get his attention and they're saying, "Yo, Rashid," he's not gonna look. And if he does look, he's gonna be like, "Yo, who the fuck are you talking? Who's Rashid? Bitch, my name is Rashad," right? That's what he would say. But he's gonna call on a divine mother as powerful as Yemoja and say, Yimiye. People in the practice, talk to me. Even if you're not in the practice, if you know that much, talk to me. And that's why I say this is fraudulent business. Fraudulent business. Appropriating culture. What's the difference between him doing that and Adele doing that? What's the difference between him doing that and Adele getting microbes in her head? What's the difference? What's the difference? They both appropriating culture. What's the difference between when Adele came to Carnival dressed like a Caribbean? What's the difference? Because people got mad at her. This is what I'm telling y'all. You have to respect these traditions. And you can't say Yimiye. Who is Yimiye? Who is that? Who the fuck is Yimiye? Where? Where? Even white people don't say Yimiye like, what? I've heard white people say Yamoja. This is closer than what he's talking about. I heard white people say Yamoja. That's closer than what he's saying, Yimiye. Respect our divine mother. Yemoja. Yemaya. Ashe.
Energy definitely great at healing and love and family. That's the energies you want to call in.
You don't know what
call
he's talking
soul
about.
energy.
Tell.
You got Yimie, goddess of the seas. Very powerful goddess. She's actually rumored to be the mother of some of the Orishas I just named. Now,
would you call your mother outside of her name? Let's think about it. If somebody asks you the name of your mother, are you going to mispronounce your mom's name? If somebody asks you the name of your mother, are you going to mispronounce the name of your mother? Are you going to mispronounce the name of your father? No. So how are you going to say these my divine mothers, my divine fathers? You can't even say their name.
I thought we're naming Orishas. I want to confuse you. I want to make a lecture for each and every single Orisha.
Don't. Insanity.
I want to make a lecture for each and every single Orisha.
Don't. Insanity. This is the shit I be talking about. Because motherfuckers.
But what you better know about the Orishas is this. The most powerful thing about the Orishas is how you are able to channel their energy to get things done that you need done, to get your will done. All right. However, you got people that'll do spell work on people for no reason, just to have their way with it. And when you try to do that, now you're wrong. And you got people that do that, they'll go to
the fuck is he telling who's wrong, what? You can't even say Yemoja.
To try to get them involved and stuff like that too. And that's where you're wrong. That's where you go wrong at.
You already went wrong.
All right. These are spiritual, once again, these are spiritual deities. They're like genies.
No,
you ask them to
no. Orishas are not like genies. You cannot rub a lamp and they pop out and get it popping for you. Orishas are not like genies. Family, listen to your boy. Orishas are not like genies. You cannot rub a pot and the Orisha come out the pot. It's a whole thing that go with Orishas. It's certain prayers you even say it, okay? It's certain prayer. And mind you, like Eshu knows all the languages, right? But once again, how do they identify their children? Right? Through the accents, the dialects, the pronunciations of where they traveled to, where did their people end up? Okay? That's very important to understand. There are certain incantations that we say to call forth Orisha. Not only that, when you're dealing with Orisha, if you have an altar or you have a consecrated item that has the Orisha, you've received that Orisha. There's special herbs and all kind of things that go in, sacrifices that go into the thing that you have. Okay. If you go into Orisha in nature, a certain incantation that we say to call forth Orisha. Okay. It's not like that what he's saying. And if you think it's like that, you can get fucked up out here. You know how many people I had to undo things that they've done, calling themselves trying to call on Orisha, and they can't, and they are getting a bad stream coming. It's just like having a bad signal, like a bad stream. Your message not going to get across right, and it can cause chaos. Very important for y'all to understand, family, because this is not a joke. Anybody can't just go call it on Orisha. Even to know certain taboos that you have when you calling Orisha. Certain Orisha, you don't even call when you're doing certain things. Like dietary and all that. If certain Orisha that rule your head, you can't even be doing certain things. Like this man don't even know what Orisha rule his head and who rule his feet. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I can tell. I've been in this shit a long time. I can tell. When somebody know they Orishas, you can tell. Like really know. Like you got on that mat and Baba threw the divination right in front of you. And that Orisha showed you who it was. Different vibe. This man doesn't know any of that. And this is the sad part that we have in the community. And this is where we call in the community charlatans. He's a charlatan, what the skateboarders would call posers.
About do.
But once again, Orisha are not genies. Don't think you're going to go rubbing no fucking pots and Orishas is going to come out the pot. What is your request? Come on, man. Stop. It's things that we do to appease that Orisha, to get it to move for us. And then there's other politics involved, like who you a child of. It's even going to determine a lot.
This is why you need to be righteous if you trying to use the Orishas, that use their help to go hurt somebody or make them fall in love with you or make them do what you want them to do. Make them call you, make them, because people do all type of stuff like that. And guess what? Because they're just merely energy, they're going to go do what you ask them to do. However, if they get to the individual you sent them to and that individual is protected or that individual isn't in the wrong, that energy you sent is not going to harm that person. It's going to come right back to you. That's why it's dangerous. That's why it's dangerous. They didn't hear this from us for so long, y'all. All the Orishas ought to receive offerings. Every Orisha had their own day too. That you would go to them and ask them to work for you. And they will work for you more on their day than they will on days it's not their day. Just like you're supposed to go out in the sun. When you want to channel the Orisha energy or your ancestors' energy, it's best to try to channel that in the sun or in the heat. Not at night when it's cold or in the moon or some shit.
Different work call for different things. Once again, the difference between the practitioners and the analysts. Different work call for different things. It's just so much. I told y'all.
But we need to learn about the Orishas and channeling that energy and going to them because we can use it in this war.
No. Even at that time, everybody did not go. You had designated priests for that. Everybody is not meant to be in the priesthood. Everybody is not meant to just go call Obatala. Everybody is not meant for that. even the people at that time that were in Yoruba land. Okay. So understand what I'm telling y'all. Okay. That's not true what he's telling y'all. All right. And there's a reason for that. You know, now, as a whole, the society were devotees. But when they needed to align certain things, they went to designated people to do that. Different priests of different Orishas would help them to do that.
We channel Ogun's energy, Okosi, Eshu, Obatala, Orula, Oya, Shango, Yimiye, Osun, and many more.
Yimiye.
Orishas. It's a spiritual family. The Orishas come from the Oyo Empire. The Oyo, OYO, the Oyo Empire is an intermediate plane within the planet. So the Oyo Empire.
Yeah, the Oyo Empire is a real place. That's a physical place with physical things, artifacts. The Oyo Empire was a real place, a physical place where you had a culture blossom from. Okay, all this intergalactic shit, leave that with that picture behind you, that poster, that cloth behind you, leave that over there.
Sits in between our realm and Asgard. You know what I'm saying? It's a interdimensional plane.
Don't know what he's talking about. I gotta study body language. Nigga don't know nothing he's talking about. I told y'all. So when you want to come on here and the knowledge and the reach, he kicking misinformation more than information. He's kicking more misinformation and knowledge that can have you messed up out here than actual knowledge. And there's so much more in that video that I didn't even address. Because I just let the real practitioners in the comments go off. But it's crazy. Like I told y'all, man, it's crazy. You got people coming into these practices. They're not even in the practice. And they come and doing things like that for views, for clicks, for relevancy. That's how he could just be in the position he in. Because like y'all love to come talk y'all shit. You don't play with the spirits. Yeah, look. It's certain things, like even when you call in certain Orishas, it's certain things that you have to know when you're dealing with that energy, because you thinking you just calling Oshun for something, and that come with side effects like a medicine. Medicine have side effects, right? Spirits have side effects. When certain spirits are moving around you a certain way, it comes with side effects for sure. Oh yeah. And that's what people have to understand. That's why there's priests. That's why there's babas and santeros. In other culture, like Palo Mayombe, you got paleros, tatas. This is why they're there. Voodoo Isan, Wungan Mambos. This is why they're there. Because they understand this science. They know the side effects that's coming. Like when I do work for people, I tell them the side effects that come with this work. Look out for these things that could happen, or look out for these feelings that could arise. Look out for these emotions that can conjure up. It's a reason for that, because I need you to be prepared as these things are coming, just like those commercials. If you've ever taken Cialis, ba 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 ba. Yes, because they have to tell you the side effects that come with that medicine. All of this is medicine work. That's why they call us medicine man. Different people going to call us different things, or us that's working the cultures, right? And there's a reason for that, you know? It's a reason for that. And also, well, what he's talking about offerings, he's talking about ebo. Different ebo is for different type of work. And if you don't understand the science behind the ebo, what he's saying, an offering, sacrifice, which sacrifice is not always blood. You can mess yourself up not knowing what you're using it for. You understand? It's very important to understand, family. You come and you give an offering, an ofrenda, an ebo. You need to know the science behind that ebo. You need to know the science behind that ofrenda, that offering. I'll give you an example. You go into a spirit for protection work. You're going to give it fruit, or you're going to give it something harder to help it get it done, to energize it to get it done a certain way. What you're going to do. This is important stuff. See? Like I said, y'all, this is just coming from somebody that grew up around the practice, that have hundreds of years of experience through my family lineage. And I'm telling you that your boy Rashad Jamal does not know what he's talking about when he get to going in about Orisha. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. That ain't it. That ain't it at all. So for those that want to learn deeper, join the mentorship. I cover various spiritual traditions, indigenous practice. When I say indigenous, I'm talking about the cultures that were on the land all around the world before modern religion came in. You know, before these books with these laws that man made up came into place. Okay, that's what I do. All right. For those that want readings, for those that want work, get at me. The links be in the description. All my videos, I put the link to the mentorship. All the videos, I put the link to booking a readings in the description. Now, if you want work, know that you're going to book a reading before any work gets done, because I got to see what's going on. Got to do divination. But with that being said, those are just some of the facts. Now, y'all can go, his supporters that still want to be, no. Okay, go argue with the practitioner in the comments that been doing this shit. Some of these people for 30, 40 years. Some of these people been doing this since you were in diapers. Go talk shit to them and tell them they're wrong. That's all. Like even me, myself, I got elders in the practice that been in the practice longer than I've been alive. Not just abuela. Elders in various traditions. That's why they call me King Brujo. A Brujo is somebody who is in the culture, in these practices, but not necessarily connected to going through the rites of passages all the time. That's a Brujo. But Brujos still respect certain traditions. So as a Brujo, when I deal with Orisha, I deal with them the way that you're supposed to deal with them. Yeah, because it's important. Some energies is like that. So with that being said, family, y'all stay elevating. Y'all stay growing, and stay in tune. Like and subscribe. I shall.